Achilles Wheel is a California band that mixes infectious, high-energy beats and dancehall psychedelia. They have an upcoming show at Sweetwater Music Hall in Mill Valley on Wednesday, July 10th. Joining us now is the group's singer, songwriter, and guitarist, Paul Kamm. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Great to be here, Steve.
Tell me about the origins of Achilles Wheel. What was the inspiration to form the group, and who are some of its influences?
Well, I've been playing music my whole life, and about 14 years ago, I was between bands and got introduced to Johnny Mojo, who is our lead guitar player. And some of the people I had been working with in a previous band started Achilles Wheel. And I think, I hate to say it, but, we started as a cover band because people love cover music. And it was a little bit into it, maybe a year and a half into it. I pried out of Johnny that he was actually a songwriter. He didn't admit that right away. And it turns out he writes some great songs. So we kind of refocused our effort into being an original band. And we still play cover music because we enjoy it. But we started doing original music as our focus because that was our purpose.
Mm-hmm. Were there any musical influences that inspired the band to form this?
Well, I think, it comes from all angles. And I'll put it this way. When I was a teenager, I was 16, living in New Jersey, and my brother was just getting off to work in New York City and left 2 large cardboard boxes full of LPs in the basement of our house. And I spent all of my senior year in high school going through everything from Jackson Browne to Genesis to Bad Company and you name it. It was in those boxes. And that's kind of the same way I think this whole band has absorbed, the world around it. And so it's kind of a mishmash of stuff.
Nice. Well, let's talk about your songwriting process. How does it work? Does the music come first, the lyrics? What influences it?
I would have to refer anyone wondering about that kind of thing to Rick Rubin's new book about the creative act. And I think that the way he puts it is really accurate. And that is, as a creative person, songwriter, artist, whatever, I think you need to be willing to receive what's coming from this great cosmic whirlwind that is around us all the time. Our friend Eliza Gilkison famously once said, if I have an idea for a song in the middle of the night, I make sure I get up and write it down, because otherwise, if you don't get it, all songs defer to Bob Dylan.
I never heard that before. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you keep a pad and pen near your bed if you get that inspiration?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Well, let's listen to some of the band's music. You sent over some music for us to play on the show here. And the first track is called Blow, Wind Blow. What's the backstory here?
This is one of the songs that Johnny wrote a little later on in the band's history. We have a good friend, George Lloyd, who Johnny sometimes writes with. And this song came out, and the way Johnny described it to me is it's trying to regain balance and peace of mind in a world that weighs heavy on us.
And this is a live track too, right?
I believe so. Is this from Wesley's Road?
Yeah, it's got an audience thing and a little intro in it, so it's kind of cool. I just was wondering where it was recorded.
Well, the story behind that triple live CD was that we had been recording a bunch of shows in 2019 in an attempt to put out a live record, and it was going to be 1 disc, and then it was going to be 2, and then it had to be 3 because we couldn't decide on limiting the number of songs. But it turns out we ended up releasing that during COVID, which was a little ironic, I guess.
Interesting. Well, let's listen to it now. This is Achilles Wheel here on Cows FM.
It was blowing through the cracks in my door. Seems like the only thing running around here anymore. Wind carried chill, dredging stories of my past. Wondering how long this wind is gonna last. Blow and blow away from my door. Don't want you out and round anymore. Blow east, blow west, let me get a little rest before the bells. Same face in races I've run. Swear she lost and struggled, I won. I close my eyes, but that wind won't cease. Holding me fast, can't get no release. Blow away from my door. Don't want you hanging around anymore. Blow east, blow west, let me get a little rest. Would be for the best. Keeps blowing through the ponderosa pines. My mind may tangle, the sun starts to shine. When all my thoughts become a staggering mess, these winds are stubborn, unwelcome, yeah. Blow away from my door. Don't want you rallying around anymore. Blow east, blow west, let me get a little rest. Blow away from my door. Don't want you hanging around anymore. Blow east, blow west, let me get a little rest. Blow away from my door. Don't want you hanging around anymore. Blow east, blow west, let me get a little rest. Before the best.
Guitarist Paul Kamm from Achilles Wheel is my guest today. Paul, tell me about this next track. It's called Turn the Worm.
Historically speaking, this is probably inaccurate, but they say that in the year 1546, a man named John Haywood put out a book of Proverbs, And I guess that it was originally quoted in Shakespeare's Henry VI. But turn the worm is a phrase which basically refers to the fact that the meek and the common folk, if you will, if they're put upon and preyed upon too long, they will rise up. And I think that that is something that, however you want to look at that, whether it's peaceful or not, I think that at some point people need to have their voice. And I think that our good friend Utah Phillips once said something which ended up as a line in this song, is that the powerful may control a lot of things in this world, but the truth is they need us more than we need them. So the idea here is just that, the world is a rough place, and people need to remember that they have power.
All right. I like that message. Let's listen to it now. This is Achilles Wheel here on Cows FM.
It's a needle in a pile of one-eyed jacks, a straw that breaks the camel's back. And it's a lie and it's the facts and the way the story ends. So when I die you can bury me with roses on a blood-red sea. 'Cause what it was might never be, again, again, again and again. If you can't turn the worm, then the worm can be turned. And if you turn the worm, then the worm will have turned. We go, and that is all I need to know. Waiting for the wind to blow, to push us hard and rock us slow. Let go your breath and count to 10. They need us more than we need them. All you good people shout amen and go and go and go and go. If you can't turn the worm, then the worm can be turned. And if you turn the worm, then the worm will have turned. And if you can't turn the worm, then the worm can be turned. And if you turn the worm, then the worm will have turned. There are scales in your eyes, blind to all truth and lies. Weakest just before we rise, shining on like Pharaoh's skies. Holding on with all our might, just try to make it home tonight. Win the war without a fight, and let the darkness be alright. And let everything just be alright. Dragons in your eyes, blind to both the truth and lies. Weakest just before they rise, shining on like northern lights. So light a fire and let it burn. Toe the line and make the turn. Let it in until we learn that only we can turn the worm, and only then the worm has turned. If you can't turn the worm, then the worm can be turned. And if you turn the worm, then the worm will have turned. And if you can't turn the worm, then the worm can be turned. And if you turn the worm, then the worm will have turned.
Paul Kamm from Achilles Wheel is here on Backstage Sonoma. Paul, before we wrap up, is the band working on any new projects?
We are currently, and I think that in these changing times, one of the things that we have discussed at length is, will we release another CD? Will we release an LP? But we're in the studio recording right now a bunch of stuff that came out in the last 3 years and some brand new stuff as well. And I think that we're going to probably set up a Bandcamp page and start distributing our stuff in that way. I think that's maybe the next good step. But you can find us all over the streaming sites. It's just that, as everyone knows, they don't pay. So we're trying to figure out a way of, maintaining our band financially as well as creatively.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're recording right now, and I'm sitting right now in the midst of the studio with guitars and everything all around me.
And Bandcamp is really good about that, aren't they?
I believe they are. I'm not a super expert with that, but I believe that that's the next step.
Yeah, I've heard some good stories about Bandcamp really supporting the artist, and so that's a good step, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
What can fans look forward to at your upcoming Sweetwater Music Hall show in Mill Valley?
Well, it's been a little while since we've been there. We got some new material, but also we're going to have a couple friends join us. Alex Jordan and Hattie Craven are going to be opening the show and then collaborating and sitting in with us a little bit during the night. So I think it'll be a really fun time.
All right. Sounds good. Where can I send our listeners to find your music and schedule?
You can find us at achilleswheel.com.
Achilles Wheel plays Sweetwater Music Hall on Wednesday, July 10th. Doors are at 7 p.m. and showtime is 8 p.m. Ticket info and more can be found at sweetwatermusichall.com. Thanks for your time today, Paul. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Steve. Thanks very much.